The story is told about Rav Avram of Sochachav, the Avnei Nezer, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who was once sitting as a dayan on a case that came in front of the Bezdin, and one of the litigants in this case was a woman who started to plead her case, and in doing so she became very passionate, very emotional, and she began to cry. And all of a sudden, Rav Avram Sochachav, he said, "That's it, I can't be a dayan in this case." He recused himself, and he explained his reasoning. He said that a dayan, a judge, is required to remain impartial when involved in any din Torah, anything involved with the Bezdin. One has to be impartial. He said even further, a dayan has to be so careful not there be any chashash, any question of impropriety, as far as potentially that someone would think that a judge, that a dayan accepted any kind of shochad, any kind of a bribe. And so he says, how is it possible for me to sit here and watch this woman, watch her plead her case with the emotion, with the passion, and see her tears? How is it possible for me not to be moved? How is it possible for me not to, or to remain impartial in this case? He said, therefore, I can't be a dayan in this case, and he stepped away. Torah tells us in our parsha, Parshas Pinchas, that when the daughters of Tzlavchad came to Moshe Rabbeinu, they asked Moshe Rabbeinu to inherit their father's portion in Eretz Yisrael, in the land of Israel. They said that their father had died because of his own sin, specifically mentioning that he was not part of the group of Korach that rebelled against Moshe, and therefore they asked Moshe if they could have their father's portion in the land of Israel, since they didn't have any brothers. So, of course, the great question is that Moshe Rabbeinu decided that he wasn't going to paskin the Shaila. The Pasuk says, "Vayakrei Moshe mishpaton lifnei Hashem." Moshe brought the Shaila to Hashem. He didn't answer himself, and we see that there were countless Shaila's questions that Moshe did answer himself. Why this one did he not answer himself? So Rashi explains that perhaps Moshe had forgotten the halacha. And the Avnei Nezer suggests that Moshe Rabbeinu, perhaps he felt that he couldn't be impartial when it came to judging this case, the case of Benos Tzlavcha, because there was so much emotion involved. Already, Moshe's name was mentioned, that Tzlavcha's father did not rebel against Moshe Rabbeinu, and hearing them pleading and begging Moshe Rabbeinu, considering the loss that they had experienced, so Moshe Rabbeinu felt that he was too nogeya, there's too much emotion involved, says the Avnei Nezer, and it was impossible for him not to remain, it was impossible for him to remain impartial. When it comes to cases in court, Dinei Torah, Bezdin, when it comes to judgments in court, impartiality is essential. But when it comes to real life emotions, we cannot allow ourselves to be impartial. As we focus on our behavior with our fellow Jews during this period of the year, these 3 weeks that we have now entered, let us try as best as we can to connect to and to feel the emotions of others. This is true for those with whom we are very close, as well as with whom we are more distant. We can never allow a fellow Jew to cry alone and for their tears not to impact us in some way. Thank you for listening, and have a good Shabbos.